Modern American Canasta is here to discuss picking the pack. In this video, we will discuss how this can happen in two ways, either when your team already opened or when you're picking the pack to open. If your team already opened, there's very few requirements other than having the two natural cards in hand that match the top card. Please note, we're not going to go into full detail today, but there are some caveats to this. When you pick the pack with aces, there are rules about whether or not you could add wild cards or a wild card. And there is a exception to throwing wild cards. You can only throw wild cards when you have only wild cards in hand. If a wild card is on top, you cannot pick the pack. The pack below it, including the wild card, is frozen. The card is turned on the side, and any future picks only get up and two, but not including the wild card. If you have more questions about picking the pack with aces on top, we discussed that in other posts. We invite you to join us on our Facebook group, Modern American Canasta. Picking the pack when opening. Now, this is the one that there's more requirements, and this video will explain them in detail. So, join us. You have to ask yourself to pick the pack when opening, do you meet the required point count and have a pure meld? This video, like all our videos, are brought to you by Dara Collins and Donna Miller-Small. We are the co-authors of Modern American Canasta, the Complete Guide, which is available on Modern American Canasta and now on Amazon. If you go to Amazon and also to Modern American Canasta, you could see images and excerpts from the book, and we hope you enjoy it. Picking the pack to open can be quite confusing. One important overriding way to think about it is, in order to pick the pack when opening, you must have all the cards you need for points and pure in hand and just be sitting and waiting for the player to throw you a card that enables you to pick the pack. Because you can't use the top card as a point or a pure. So let's go over these facts. The top card never counts for points or is one of the three cards in your pure meld. And if only two cards from your hand are added to the card that you're picking the pack, that meld does not count at all for either points or a pure meld. We're going to go through some examples, and you'll see that sometimes simply rearranging your cards in hand will get you to be able to open by picking the pack. And this can be very valuable. Here's a visual exercise to reinforce the rules. And if you have cards nearby, we suggest you pause this video and go get a deck of cards and do a canasta exercise with us. This will help reinforce and get the understanding of this concept more visually, and sometimes just by dealing the cards to yourself, it really reinforces this. In this first example, what is your point count and do you have a pure? So I don't know if it's very clear in the picture, but the pack is under the 5 of hearts. So in this case, you had all those other cards in hand and you're picking the pack with the 5 of hearts. You meet the first requirement, which is you have a matching pair. But do you meet the other requirements? So first of all, do you have a pure? Well, you have 3 5s, but as we discussed in the prior slide, that is not a pure in this example. Because in order for it to be a pure, the pure must already be in your hand. So you have to add 3 5s to make it a pure. So do you meet the point count? You have 120 points for the kings, you have 50 points for the 8s, and you have 0 points for the 5. And you might be saying, why 0? Since you only are adding 2 cards from your hand, none of those points matter. So this is an example of not being able to open by picking the pack with 5s. Now, is there a remedy for this? Because you might have said, hey, before I saw the 5s, I knew I had 180 and I knew I had a pure. What did I do wrong? And a lot of times when we play in real canasta, you see people rearranging and then finally the pack comes to them. So what would happen if you just simply move the 2 over to the 5s? Do you have a point count that you need? And do you have a pure? Here you have 120 for the kings, another 30 for the 8s, that's 150. And now your 5s and the 2 count because you're going to be having 4 cards in that meld. You're bringing 3 cards, the 5, and the 2 from your hand. So here you have 120, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 180. And guess what? Now that you moved your 2 over to the 5s, you also have your pure. So we suggest you take your deck of cards and you take 13 cards and you pick and discard until you get 180, and then practice just picking and discarding and seeing when you can arrange cards to pick the pack. It's a very helpful example, and this is something that even experienced players still get a little tripped up on when they're putting their cards out. We invite you to join us on our Facebook group, check out our book on Modern American Canasta on Amazon, and if you have friends that are missing out on Canasta and they really want to learn how to play, we invite you to let them know about our upcoming Canasta Camp. You could check out our other video on YouTube where we give an example of what discussion of what's going to happen. It's going to be 4 weekly classes starting on Sunday, October 29th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We are going to have a beginning, an introduction. We're going to talk about each week. It's going to build on the week before. We're going to have time for questions. If you have any questions about registering or anything about the camp, email us at modernamericancanasta@gmail.com. And to register, it's simple. You just need to pay us $45 for all 4 classes. That's the total fee. That's not per class. 45 classes for all 4 weeks. And you could pay by either PayPal or Zelle. And our account on both of those platforms is modernamericancanasta@gmail.com. If you have any questions or any difficulty in sending payment, just feel free to shoot us an email and join us on our Facebook group. We love questions from beginners and players of all levels, and our group is very helpful in answering. So we invite you to post whatever you want and discuss Canasta with us. Hope you have a great day and get all the cards you need in hand.